business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. Today's guest going to light you up, man. He's done a lot. He's been through a lot. He's going to tell you a lot. He's going to motivate you. He's going to challenge you. But more importantly, what Derrick's going to do today for you, he's going to give you tools and resources to inspire action, both in your life and the lives of others, because that's what a servant heart will do. We share these wonderful resources. Before you dive in, though, here's your homework. Sir, how are you going to serve yourself and others today? And that key word is today, because it doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes. Let's discover how servant leadership in business can create a ripple effect that lasts far beyond the bottom line. And a quick shout to Epic Impact. If you want to change your messaging, like I have in my podcast, my post, and how I pitch my business, check out epicimpact.ai with promo code Steve to start inspiring action today. And a quick shout out, we just hit top 20 in small business marketing. So thank you, audience, but more importantly, my wonderful guests like I have today. We're impacting people, and that was the whole goal when I started this podcast. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very, very much. Let's jump in because I'm excited to talk to this wonderful guy. Derrick, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
I thank you so much for having me. This is I'm very much looking forward to this discussion.
Man, I said that pretty stern. Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Let's enjoy it. Well, going through your stuff, and I didn't even talk to you before the show, you're an Army brat.
Yep.
There's a lot to be learned from that. What did you learn?
You know, I think the biggest thing that I learned as I grew up, and it's one of those lessons that you might not really learn it as you're going through it, especially when you're a kid, but later on you reflect on it, is change doesn't bother me. In fact, it almost, I thrive in it. And I think a lot of people don't, and change can sort of make them go numb or make them freeze. For me, it doesn't. I grew up with constant change, and I learned to embrace it. I learned to adapt. And that was a big deal for me as I grew up and became an adult.
Change is such a problem for people nowadays. COVID's coming. This is coming. Tariffs, everything. I can't change. Oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble. Thank you for saying that. Because I asked him his superpower audience, and that's one of them. If you can learn to change. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and I share this with people all the time, and this I learned in the military, even myself, but growing up, the biggest thing that I learned about change was that most of the time people don't hate change. They hate transition. And so it really depends on the transition. Like I was a kid, I moved from Alaska to Texas to Panama. And so when you think about that, the transition there is so different, but the experiences at each one of those places was unbelievable. I use example all the time. Everyone hates car shopping, but you love your new car. You hate packing, but you love your new house. And so transition is what generally people hate. And change is what gets used all the time, but most of the time people don't mind the change. It's the transition and the uncertainty that they hate.
That's so brilliant, Derrick. Man, you're a smart dude, because I'm thinking, God, I gotta go out wear a suit and a jacket and a tie. I never wear them.
Yep.
That's the transition, but I'll put on a jacket without a tie, but I gotta wear a tie to this event. Yep. Oh my God, I freak out. It's just a freaking tie, Steve. Relax. Yep. Let's jump in. Your background, your story is powerful. Tell us your story, and how we'll talk about the book from that.
Yeah. So, I grew up, like you already talked about, an Army brat. I spent 6 years in the Air Force Reserves myself on a few different deployments, went to school. And right out of school, I got into the financial services industry, and I loved doing that work. Absolutely loved being an advisor and helping. And then I moved into leadership and found myself coaching and consulting and mentoring advisors all over the country, which was fantastic for me. And then eventually I decided, you know what, I want to go back to being an advisor myself. And it was in that capacity that I found myself in this, interesting position. And that was that my clients kept texting me. As weird as that sounds, in 2016, when this happened, they kept texting me and I couldn't respond to them. It's against the rules, or it was at that point, to communicate through text, all these things that need to be done that weren't available. And I went to my compliance officer and said, there's got to be a solution. It's 2016. There has to be a solution to this. This is how everyone communicates. And the answer was no, there isn't. And I don't like that answer, right? And when I heard no, there isn't a solution, what I actually heard was nobody's created one yet. And so I'm not an IT guy. I'm the farthest thing from a tech IT guy you could probably imagine. And I went, you know what? This is a problem that needs to be solved. Nobody else is going to do it. I'm going to solve it. And so I just set out to solve this problem and partnered with my uncle, who was a computer programmer, and off we went. And it was not the most fun journey along the way. We went through a lot of ups and downs, like every entrepreneur does. But at the end of the day, we built a really, really great product that was used by the time I sold the company at the end of 2023 by just about every major financial services firm in the industry.
What a story. Holy mackerel. And you're right. If you don't have ups and downs in your business as an entrepreneur, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's unfortunate. Yep. Let's jump into the book. What's the title? What did you learn from all that experience that you wrote in your book? Because it tells your story.
Yeah, the title of the book is Put to the Test. And I wanted to, I had some different ideas for the title, some ones with, even some stronger language in there that I was encouraged not to use. But the reason I wrote it was this. When I sold the company, I went through 3 significant lawsuits that all tried to just crush and derail everything we were doing. And when it was done and I won all of them, and then continued to build this thing, everyone wanted to know how I did that. And it kept coming up time and time again. Derrick, how did you do that? How did you do that? And people ask that question in such a way that they want me to give them an answer. At least it felt this way. They wanted me to give them an answer that helped them decide for themselves, yep, that's why I couldn't do that, right? They almost wanted to pass, like Derrick possesses something that I don't possess, therefore I can't do it. And what I wanted to write in this book was we all get put to the test. Every one of us does. I'm not special. I promise you. I say this to people all the time. There's nothing special, nothing unique about me. I promise you. The difference is I have this mindset that I call the FIO mindset, the figure it out mindset. And I just apply it. And that's what I did. And I love telling people, and I do a lot of speaking, and I tell people all the time, figure it out is a phrase that people use all the time. And when you think about the way it's used, most of the time it's used is in the context of not my problem, right? So when somebody says something, hey, we have to do this, they go, well, you figure it out. That's what they're kind of saying is not my problem. Like I don't want to deal with that. And so I wrote this book to say, well, what do you do when it is your problem? What do you do when nobody else is going to solve it for you? And you have to solve it. Personal, professional, doesn't matter. And that's why I wanted to write this book, to share a bunch of stories of myself and my life, and then what I went through with this business, and how I think all that applies to how we all live our lives every day.
Yeah, it's you got a reader in me. I'm going to buy a book, because as you mentor as a leader, FIO should not be in your mindset. I think kind of with training, because leaders shouldn't go, hey, Derrick, you figure it out. You're the XYZ. No, I'm your CEO, let's say. Hey, let's work together to figure it out.
Yep.
Am I thinking right about the book more so?
Yeah. There's so many different ways to apply this, right? When you think about personal relationships and taking responsibility and accountability, you think about professional relationships. And I think that's a problem for a lot of people when it comes, especially like professionally, is if they don't know the answer, they're kind of afraid to go down that path, right? And I tell people all the time, I knew nothing about tech. I certainly didn't know the answer. But that didn't stop me from going down that path. It didn't stop me from asking questions relentlessly, asking everybody I could, seeking advice, seeking guidance, taking all that information. And then guess what? We built a heck of a company with it. So that, in my mind, that's what figure it out means, is don't rely on excuses, move forward.
Well, congratulations on winning your legal battles, because I know a lot of people that haven't. So that I know it should be a badge on your chest, on your heart, because they're all hard. They're just draining. And I've been through a couple. I know people that have been through a lot more than I have, like similar to yours. And thank you for your service. I appreciate that from a non-military guy. My family members did. It means a lot to me. With figuring it out, that mindset, what's the first step that people listening need to do?
I think the first step for most people when it comes to this figure it out mindset is being honest with yourself. And I think for a lot of people, that's a big challenge. Again, personal relationships, right? I'll listen to people who will talk to me and they'll a relationship is not going well and this person is this person is this way and it's their fault and all these things. Well, start being honest with yourself. Are you perfect? No. Are you a part of the problem? Probably in some way, shape, or form. Again, professionally or personally, that still applies. That level of humility, that level of honesty hurts. It hurts really bad. And that's why I think a lot of people avoid it. So you have to be honest with yourself. And then you also have to be honest with what you've done to try to solve a problem already. And that's a really interesting thing, especially when it comes to professional challenges people face, is what have I actually done? And did I act to my ability? Did I just say I was going to do this and have a conversation with this person or try this approach? Did I really do it? Did I really give it my all? Or did I just kind of dip my toe in the water and hope like heck it worked? So honesty, humility, all that stuff matters. I think that's the foundation of every single thing when it comes to how do you figure it out? Because if you can't be honest with yourself or anybody around you, I mean, how can you have any confidence in anything you're going to try at that point? It's ever going to work?
Questions and listening. 2 words you said. How important are those? I know how important they are because I talk about them all the time. How important are they?
In all the coaching and consulting that I've done in the past and still do to this day, if you've ever listened to me speak, you'll know I say this a million times. All your answers are in your questions. Stop speaking, stop telling people things and just ask questions. And there's so many people that just don't want to do that, or they're not confident enough in themselves to do it. They feel like maybe I'm supposed to have answers. I got a fancier title. Man, just ask questions. It's unbelievable. Ask questions and listen. And then more importantly, I've had people over the years say, Derrick, you do such a great job asking questions. Can you write those down? Like if I'm going to go into an interview with a client as an advisor, can you write down those questions? Those are really good. And I go, no, because the most powerful question is not my question. It's the follow-up question. But I have to be listening to understand what follow-up question to ask. And so it's so important. And I think it's something that a lot of people today, just in society, we just need to get better at. Just stop pretending we have everything to say and just listen.
We're so aligned, Derrick. I talk about ask, shut up, listen, and ask. We're so aligned. And I preach that as I mentor the same thing.
Yep.
It's so simple to do, but the mindset gets in the way because they don't want to. People go, I don't want to ask that question because I don't want to know the answer.
Yep.
Well, then you're failing.
Yeah, somebody said that to me recently. They said, well, I'm afraid to ask the question because I don't know how to, what if they give me something, they come back to me with something I don't know how to address. And I'm going, why does that scare you? If you ask really good questions, that's probably going to happen. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. That's that humility. That's that honesty part that's really important. Man, so many conversations I get into, I don't know the slightest thing about, but it's amazing how much you can learn by asking really good questions.
Yeah, podcast hosting is perfect. I've got so many resources and I've learned so much. And the other thing is FIO. I'm going to start using it. I'm going to take your friend. Well, FIO, figure it out.
Figure it out. That's right.
You're human. And I love what you said that you're not special because I love saying this. Hey, I've got a top podcast. I'm not special, but like you and me, we took action. Yep. That's our specialty. Yep. And that's kind of what figuring out you took action. I love that.
Yep.
I know people listening, you popped out some financial institutions that are top dogs. You know, you work with some of the top 4. How did you land those clients? What do you think the piece of advice you can give on that?
Yeah. I always use the phrase professional persistency. And I used to joke, right? There's a fine line between being persistent and a pest. And I hope never to cross that line. But here's what's really important. And I even write about this in the book. And it's really funny as I think back to every one of those financial services firms, the big ones, they all told me no. They all told me go away. One of them said, we're going to build our own solution on our own. We have so much money. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. We're just going to build our own. But I knew they didn't understand it the way that I did. And I think that's the other thing that really helped us is I was the use case. I was the advisor. I was the compliance officer. I knew exactly what was necessary. And a lot of the other tools that I competed with were built by engineers where they understood the technology. They didn't understand the client. It was amazing to me to sort of see that in action because I never would have guessed that. It's hard to fathom this idea that something that we use or something that somebody's trying to sell us was built without us in mind. And I saw that every day. And so for me, I was persistent. Every time somebody told me no, I went out of my way, despite my feelings, to find out why they said no. What was it? Was the product not good enough? Was the service not good enough? Was I not good enough? What was it that is in my ability to control? Can I do better next time? And then I just stayed in touch with them. And every time I got a nugget of information that somebody maybe not have liked or was looking for, I just continued to share it with them. And eventually everybody came right back to us because we did build the best product that was out there. And that's how it worked for us.
I'm going to say the word again.
Team. That's the other thing too. We had no sales team. I think the biggest we ever were was 9 or 10 people. We did it right. We did it smart. We did it lean. We bootstrapped this thing all the way through, and we built a great product and a great company.
Again, you're not special, but you're special because you took all those steps. Mm-hmm. You took action, and a professional persistency. Yep. Audience, write that down. I wrote it down. That's where you can ask, get a no, and ask, and not worry about it. And I say this, Derrick, tell me what you think. If somebody says, no, I'm not interested, and follow up case, leave me alone. I say next, and I leave them alone when they.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I've had people say to me this, this lead is dead. And I go, okay, well, most of the time they're not dead. It's when they tell you to go away. It's when they tell you to leave me alone. So they tell you don't ever contact me again. That lead is dead in my mind, but that hardly ever happens. No. And most of the time, if you're professional, you have earned the right to stay in touch with somebody. And you have earned the right even to ask for permission. Is it okay if I just share updates with you as we have them with what we're working on? Almost nobody is going to say no to that. And so as long as you do it politely, as long as you do it professionally, I used to go out of my way to make sure I didn't do it the same every time. So I never sent an update on the first of every month because they expect that. I paid very close attention to find out about people's families and milestones they have in their life. So I could use that as a tool to say, hey, isn't this about the time your daughter's going off to college? Where did she end up going? Hope everything's going well. Look forward to reconnecting. And so just that little professional persistency, those little things that I did that made a massive difference, and just continued to keep that door open enough for me to eventually walk through it.
You just made somebody $1 million, Derrick. And I know you'd be, now knowing you're proud because somebody, if you're listening and run with this, yeah, you could be as successful as Derrick is. I'm becoming successful, exactly what you're saying. Yep. Because has anybody come to you, Derrick, and saying, you're an a-hole, stop reaching out to me? Has anybody ever done that? Maybe once?
Yeah, I mean, let's break that up. Has anybody ever called me an a-hole, or has anybody ever said you're an a-hole, stop calling me?
Well,
right?
Good point. Yeah, see how great this guy is?
Yeah,
no, I mean, it just,
no,
you know what I mean by that. Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that, right? Honestly, it's just funny to think about, right? We're all so afraid of that, right? Think of the guy who does phone sales, right? It's like you're so afraid of that phone. What's the worst that's going to happen? And chances are the worst thing you can imagine is not going to happen. Just be polite, be professional, be persistent, again, professionally. And I think you'd be amazed how it works.
And it's a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more fun because you build relationships with people you didn't even, probably not even going to be your clients, you probably built relationships with.
That's exactly right.
They weren't interested in your product. That's okay. There's other ways we can partner. And you had mentioned earlier, partner. We're coming close to the end here, but the word resilience comes to my head as I listen to you. You had a ton of obstacles. How important is that for an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And the one thing I think is really important from an entrepreneur's perspective is, and again, whether you use an entrepreneur or use professional, whatever it is yeah, being resilient doesn't mean you never stop. It doesn't mean you never reconsider. It doesn't mean you never even avoid what's coming. It means that you constantly are moving in the direction of making progress. One of the things that's really important to me is it's progress, not perfection. And I never believe in this idea that it's one step forward, 2 steps back, right? You hear that phrase every once in a while. To me, there's no 2 steps back. If I learn from it and I can apply what I just learned, it's still a step forward, just in a different direction. And so when entrepreneurs are resilient, one of the things that I know every once in a while is somebody will get so focused on their idea that they think I have to never deviate from this. Otherwise, I'm not being resilient. I'm not being persistent. No, sometimes deviating from it is the right thing to do. You have to know when and how to do that. And so for me, all of that is still pushing forward. It's just a slightly different path to success. And that's okay. But resiliency is really important. That and having some thick skin, right? You're going to get told no. I got told no a lot. You're going to get told go away. You're going to get, emails ignored and people that say I'm not interested. You're going to have people tell you your product is terrible, right? It's amazing. Some people just want to do that. They want to share that direct, honest opinion and see what kind of reaction they can get out of you. Know what's coming and don't overreact. So that makes a big difference too.
Next is what comes in my head now. 3 years learning that. Next, what's my next opportunity? What's my figure it out next? And I think figure out FIO. I'm going to keep saying that because I love it. And resiliency come together.
Yep.
And the deviant that you mentioned, audience, this is big because Apple's a perfect example. Steve Jobs.
Yep.
How many times did he got fired from his own company, but deviated and came back? And it's $1 trillion company now. It's a perfect example of what you're saying.
Yep.
You're mentoring people. What excites you about mentoring?
It's funny to see the light bulb. It's amazing. And the funniest thing about this is most of these light bulb moments are when I say something that to me is just so simple and so basic. And that's the fun part about standing up on a stage and speaking, is that so many times it's not the message, it's how I deliver the message that all of a sudden it clicks for one person. We're like, oh, I've heard this before, but I haven't heard it in that context or explained that way. Now I get it. And so that's probably the most fun about any of it, is just helping people figure that part out of, it's not overly complicated. It's simple, but not easy, right? All of that stuff really applies to these difficult things we're trying to do in life. And watching those light bulbs go off is a lot of fun.
FIO should be the DNA of every entrepreneur, every professional business, every founder across the board. A janitor.
Yep.
You're paid to be a janitor, and you figure out that paper towel thing doesn't work, or there's a better one. Go back to Steve Ramona, the CEO, go, hey, or whoever, he goes to and says, hey, I found a better mousetrap. I don't like that word, but you know what I mean. A better solution is better.
Yeah. And that is also a big part of this, right? I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about the varying levels of leadership, right? And sort of the baseline level of leadership is a leader that is capable of pointing out a problem. The paper towel dispenser is terrible. Great. And you wait. And the difference between the person who can, at the basic level of leadership, and the person at the top, is the person at the top also has the solution, right? So it doesn't take a great leader to point out a problem. We don't even need to be a leader. We can just do that all day long, right? I can point out problems all day. Can I actually identify solutions? Can I share with the team when I present the problem and the solution, what I've done to vet out other solutions, why I think this solution is the best? Here's what it costs. Here's the incremental cost. All those things. That's when everybody goes, this is somebody I want to follow. And by definition, you're not a leader if you have no followers. So all of that stuff matters. And I think that's also really, really important.
And the solution can be asking questions, going back to what you said.
100%.
I don't know how better what do you think? Well, people walked in and the paper's all over the floor. It makes a mess. It looks okay. How can we, man, I'm loving this. We're coming to the end here. This is powerful. Let's end with a fun question. And I'm going to ask you, would you like to come back in a couple of months? Because there's more we can dive into FIO and all this, if you're willing. Yeah, let's do that.
100%. I'd love to.
Yeah, this would be great. So I've got a reservation at a restaurant for you. And the goal of the reservation is there's 4 seats. You're going to sit in one. You got 3 empty chairs. Who is Derrick going to invite to get to know, dead or alive, doesn't have to be alive, to ask questions, to FIO them? But here's the most important question in my eyes. What food would you order?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm a steak guy. Let's not kid. I mean,
yes.
my wife, my kids, all my friends try to get me to eat vegetables. I keep telling them I eat food eats veggies. So I'm a steak and potatoes guy. Man, who would I have at that table? I would want to get a chance to meet other visionaries. I'd want to get a chance to sit down and just pick the brain of other people as to how they solve some of the most complex, complicated things, right? You look at like an Elon Musk. Could you imagine how interesting a meal would be sitting with somebody who's wired that way? It would either be awesome or just an absolute train wreck, right? I don't know if there's probably anywhere in the middle, but that would just be a really interesting conversation. Then I think of other guys like, another podcaster, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan does some really great podcasts. That would be just a phenomenal guy to sit down and pick his brain. Guys like Jocko Willink would be phenomenal to sit down and just have a conversation with him. I'm a military guy. I like that stuff. But that's kind of who I think I would want at that table. Even, oh man, I'm just the CEO of, or the founder of Apple. I just blanked out his name. Steve Jobs. Even somebody like that, right? Somebody who's the biggest thing with, I think all these people have in common, at least in my mind, is I just have this firm belief that never in life will you encounter a problem where an excuse is the solution. So every one of these people at so many different crossroads in their life could have sat down and used an excuse like, I don't know how, or it's not possible. And they didn't. And to me, those are powerful people to sit down and talk to.
Amen, Derrick. And I'm going to spend $100 to bring a fifth chair in because I want to see Elon Musk and Steve Jobs talk.
Oh man.
We'd be there for 3 hours. Oh my God.
By the time that meal was over, we'd have an iPhone on Mars.
Yeah. Great call.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You are a servant's heart. You fit this show so well because you figured it out.
Yep.
And you're sharing it with the world and helping people. I know some people listening, or all of them, want to reach out and connect and get the book. How can they get the book and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, well, books available, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, different places like that. I think most people probably order it on Amazon. It seems like that's where everybody orders books these days.
Yeah.
And then my website, DerrickGirard.com. Reach out. Anything I can do to help, anything I can do to be a resource, I am 100% more than happy to be that person to whoever I can.
And audience, I'm now a promoter on these podcasts, and I think a lot of you listen because of that. I'm going to promote this guy. If you have a speaking gig or know somebody has a gig, this is a guy you want to add. Very intelligent, fluent in just taking care of people. This is what you want to do. So reach out to him, get the book. I'm going to order it right when I get off. I've got hundreds of books, but I always want to figure it out. No, it's my pleasure. And audience, let's do this. I'm going to have some fun. I rarely do this, Derrick, but I'm going to order the book. The next person that orders the book and proves it to me and shows me the invoice that you bought the book. I almost forgot Steve Jobs' name too.
Yeah. Send
it to me and I will send you a second book on me that you can share with somebody, because that's what we do as servant hearts. So I'm going to put that out there. Audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Derrick's a perfect example. This is a gift right here we got for 4 minutes, because you got somebody trying to figure it out. Can't think of a better person to listen to. And they get to listen to the podcast and learn about Derrick. Then they reach out to his website. They buy the book. You've just made the impact I started the whole show with.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome, Derrick. And it doesn't have to be my podcast, any others, because the beauty of subscribing, you get that new podcast sent to you and you go, man, this is a guy I got to share with. Go and share. I've got a couple people. I'm going to share it with myself. So with that being said, me and Derrick want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.